Hi, I'm Phillip Blair, and this is my digital story for Health Science 410. Brief introduction to what I'll be talking about and what the course entails. This is for Health Science 410, like I previously stated. This course focuses on gerontology. Gerontology is the study of the elderly population and the diseases and difficulties associated with aging. This course specifically outlines associated health issues and their impact on families and caregivers. Things I learned. The first couple sections will be talking about the various things I learned throughout this course. General information that I learned. To be considered elderly, you must be age 65 or older. Life expectancy is around 78.2 years in the United States. The elderly population is growing because the baby boomers are reaching age 65. And one of the most interesting and exciting things I learned was that only a small portion of the elderly live in nursing homes, contrary to my first belief before learning the various material that I learned in this class. Some of the positives of aging that I learned about, these all come from a study conducted by our book. Most elderly are satisfied with their life. Some elderly are living the best years of their life, and the majority of elderly think the aging process is better than what they thought it would be. I put this in this presentation because it was important to understand that there are positives to aging. Despite the negative connotation aging may have, it is important to focus on the positives as well as the negatives. Positive continued. The majority of elderly live in a helpful family setting. This can help with living in a family setting, helps with activities of daily living, and just increases morale and just overall happiness of life for the elderly. The elderly still maintain an interest in sex and performing sexual activities. This is one of the most important things to note. It is important for healthcare workers to discuss sex and sexual activities with the elderly. Although it may be a difficult topic to discuss, it is important to discuss this because they do still have a need and a want for sex. Medical advancement is allowing for better treatment and care, which is also increasing the elderly population. Some of the negative things that I learned about the process of aging. Many elderly lose their ability to drive due to loss of vision or other complications associated with aging. This can be a difficult task because along with the loss of your license comes a loss of independence. So an elderly person must rely on a family member or outside help to get them to the grocery store or hospital appointments. Most elderly have at least one chronic condition that limits their ability to perform ADLs, and ADL is an activity of daily living. And then many elders face financial burdens due to loss of a job, early retirement, or hospital bills that may be piling up due to lack of insurance or insurance coverage. Elders often have less formal education, although they may not have as much formal education as the younger population does. What they lack in formal education, they make up for tenfold in what they learned throughout their life. One of the most interesting things I did was the interview paper. I interviewed Mrs. S, and some of the positive things I took away from this interview is that the aging process is as positive or negative as you make it. Mrs. S, throughout the entire interview, made it very clear that despite some of the difficulties she is facing through the aging process, she is having a blast, and it's all about what you make it. So if you're happy, you act happy, you feel happy, the aging process will be great. There are many positive aspects to growing old that are overlooked. Mrs. S continually remarked on how she loved being older and enjoying her and spoiling her grandchildren. And when asked what the key to staying healthy was, Mrs. S said that staying active was the key to healthy aging, and she loved to garden, and she will do it until she physically is unable to do it anymore. Things I learned about the nursing home. Typical size of a room is about 80 square meters. I thought this was quite small considering most of the room is taken up by medical equipment and the bed. Typical cost for a private room is around $7,000 per month. Payment methods include Medicare insurance and Medicaid. The typical resident of a nursing home has changed. What I mean by this is because of the continuity in care and the amount of medical advancement, we are keeping people alive longer for conditions that previously would have been would have caused death. So the typical resident of a nursing home today is much more has much more chronic conditions than an individual that was living in a nursing home about 20 years ago. Things I learned of assisted living facilities. There are 4 types that are recognized in the United States. They include adult daycare, adult family home, community-based residence facility, or a CBRF, and a residential care apartment complex. The 2 most recognized are the community-based residential facility and the residential care apartment complex. The typical cost for this is around $3,300 per month, and this can be paid by Medicaid, and Medicare does not provide payment for this. Which may make it difficult for some elderly to have a residence in a CBRF or a residential care apartment complex. These are typically more apartment-style housing, and the residents of assisted living facilities do not need as much care as a resident of a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility would. Things I learned presenters. Dr. Fernando showed us about the importance of the design of a medical facility. Carrie Engelbright, what nursing homes and assisted living facilities are, which I previously discussed. And Dr. Summer, how prescription medicines affect the elderly. One big takeaway is that the elderly often have a harder time metabolizing the drug, so different dosages may be required to obtain effectiveness. Things I learned other presenters, falls prevention. That falls prevention can help reduce incidence of falls. There is such a thing as an individual coming into your home to do a risk assessment for falls, which may help you find issues that may cause falls in your home. And then death and dying, the importance of being a professional. Conflicts that can arise during the death of a loved one and the reasons for conflict. This was really eye-opening, so I can get different perspectives on the death and dying, and to ensure that in my future role as a healthcare provider, I do my best job in providing adequate response to the death and dying process. Things I learned in the group project. My group project focused on the Stevens Point area and the things that are offered in the Stevens Point area for the elderly. I learned that the Lincoln Center is instrumental in aiding the elderly of the Stevens Point area, and I also learned a ton of things from other groups that presented. And how will I apply this information? Having a better understanding will allow me to better communicate. The knowledge will help me better aid the elderly in the future. The information makes me better equipped to handle problems. Knowing more allows me to provide better care. As in everything, gaining knowledge only helps you become a better professional. So this course has allowed me to get a better insight into the aging process, and I will use this insight to treat my future elderly patients adequately and to the best of my ability. One thing that I learned that will stick with me the most throughout this course is a quote that we learned right away. The quote is by Alex Comfort. By ignoring an oppressed minority, which we are inevitably going to join, we do not realize that we are slashing our own tires. This struck home with me because it's important to realize that one day we'll all become elderly, and it's important to treat the elderly with respect, because if we don't, how can we expect a future healthcare provider to treat us with respect when we are elderly? And if you have time afterward, you feel free to click on this video. It's a little video I found on the internet that summarizes what I just discussed. All right, thank you for your time.